Talking Clemson football, we got Jason Priester on the line, allclemsontigers.com. Now, I'm thinking Will Shipley's not necessarily thinking about his coaching career quite yet. I think he's maybe thinking 10-year NFL career at this point, and for good reason. Quite the back, and you put him together with Phil Maffa, who I know from the time he signed, you loved the Clemson running back room, at least at that top tier, is in great shape.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to find a better 1-2 punch than Will Shipley and Phil Maffa. And this is another position that I think is going to benefit greatly from the hiring of Garrett Riley. I know the term air raid gets thrown around a lot with Riley, but if you go back and look at his offenses, he is a run-first guy. I think they ran 56% of the time at TCU last year, and I would fully expect Will Shipley to be just as involved as ever, and Phil Maffa to be even more involved this year. I think Maffa is going to be a big part of the plan. I think they'll use both of those backs. They both are very well-rounded backs. They do everything well for the most part. They can run between the tackles. They can run it around the outside. You can throw them the ball out of the backfield. They both greatly improved in their pass protection. Still some, room for improvement there, but that's not unusual for sophomore running backs, guys heading into their junior seasons. But, I think this is if you can keep both those guys healthy, I think this is a area of strength for Clemson heading into the season. Behind them, you've got Dominique Thomas, who is actually a former walk-on, but he's got a little bit of experience. The coaches trust him, so you might see him getting a little bit of playing time here and there. The guy after that is rising sophomore Keith Adams Jr., redshirted last year. I should say redshirt freshman, not rising sophomore. But it'll be interesting to see how much of a jump Adams takes from his first year to his second year. During the spring last year, I was kind of surprised when I first laid eyes on him. He already looked the part, man. He didn't look like a guy that needed to add a bunch of weight. He was, he's a physical specimen. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of jump he takes this season. But make no mistake, when we're talking about running backs, this is going to be the Will Shipley, Phil Maffa show. And I know C.J. Spiller catches some flack for Clemson's lack of recent success recruiting running backs since he was hired. But when you talk about on-field production, it's hard to argue against the running backs being one of the most well-coached positions on the field.
And those running backs might turn out to be a whole lot more productive if that passing game becomes more of the threat that it was between 2013 and 2020 than it has been the last two seasons, because people have been able to stack the box and really focus on Shipley in particular. And the other thing that you touched upon that I think is interesting, that becomes a misnomer, I think, for a lot of college football fans, is that they think, we're getting this spread attack, and we're getting this hotshot new coordinator who did all these good things at TCU, and all the best teams in the country just throw the ball all over the field. Well, yes, the best teams in the country, fill in the blank, the best offenses in the country, throw it efficiently, and they throw it explosively. But I think people might be surprised. Ohio State, Tennessee, probably the two best offenses in the country last year, threw it roughly. I might be off by a spot or two. The 50th and the 70th most times in the country. They're not throwing the ball like 55 times a game.
Absolutely. And, again, like I said, that term air raid gets thrown around. And, yes, it's I guess it's a version or a variation of the air raid, but it is absolutely built on having success running the football, the inside zone, something Clemson's been running for years, big part of that offense. Some things might look a little bit different. You might see more window dressing, more motion, things like that. But at its core, you're going to still see a lot of inside zone, and those running backs are going to be heavily involved.
Absolutely. Jason Priester, allclemsontigers.com. Check out his work covering baseball, and, of course, spring football is going to be here before we know it. Jason, we're going to bring you on back, talk wide receivers, offensive line, take everybody through the offense and the defense here pretty soon.
Yes, sir. Looking forward to it, Mark. Thanks.